Hi YouTubers, welcome back to Vintage Fashion Hat Chat. I'm Norma Shepherd. I'm crazy about hats. I'm the director of the Mobile Millinery Museum and the author of 5 books on vintage fashion, including 1,000 hats. We do have more than 1,000, about triple that now, cataloged in the archive. And I'm happy to be bringing you a few at a time. As I used to say at many of my retrospective millinery fashion shows, to the audiences, I'm sure they were very happy I didn't bring everything I have. Today I've brought a few Christmas red hats. I imagine you're all getting ready for the holidays, and I hope you're thinking about holiday dressing and holidays been and gone, and the great fashions that we've all enjoyed watching the old movies or seeing our parents dress up for special occasions, and it's just fabulous. Anyway, today as I say, I'm bringing you some very vibrant red hats. I've often said that it wasn't always easy to find a red hat. The Victorians felt that if you were wearing a red hat, maybe you weren't wearing any knickers. The red hats for a time were considered very racy, but then again, later on in the 20th century, they sort of crept into acceptability. And those are the ones I want to show you today. Of course, the Red Hat Society commandeered the colored red, paired it with purple, of course, and that's a whole phenomenon unto itself. But let's get talking about these red hats. They're from 3 different eras. I might as well start with the earliest. And this one is a wood straw. I may have shown this in a different video with different intent. This is a wood straw. It's lacquered. It's fashioned on an inner crown that's sort of oval shape, although it does start from the center crown, as always when they begin to sew the straw to create the shape. And then of course the brim is fashioned around it. So the straw itself is fairly wide. It wouldn't take too long to create the basic shape. And then there are these wonderful buds and flowers. And this hat, of course, wouldn't have to be worn at Christmas. This could be worn in the summer. Maybe even the flowers could be removed or changed for different seasons. But it's a really nice, basic, very red hat. No label. It does have a grosgrain inner band, as so many of them do. And I would date this to probably the 40s. Now the next one I want to show you is from the 1950s, and this straw is much finer. Very, very, very fine Milan straw that's been shaped into this wonderful bandeau. I did do a video recently showing you some very special bandeau that also could be worn at Christmas time. Now this, you can see this asymmetric shape, and this style was also referred to as an eggshell. So anything that kind of sat across the crown of your head and was shaped almost like a cracked egg was called an eggshell hat. So I'm not suggesting that anyone's an egghead or cracked to be able to wear one of these hats, but just so sweet. They have stripped the feathers, making them very delicate, giving a little bit of verticality, which is always great. You want to draw the eyes upward, of course, and simply banded in some red grosgrain and then a matching little red grosgrain bow. I think it's a sweet, sweet style. Think of these hats in the 1950s with a sort of a Christian Dior style cocktail dress, ballerina length. I apologize for that. Whether the skirts were full skirted like Dior's new look or very slim in the skirt, the bodices were always very, very fitted. Cocktail dress might have even had little spaghetti straps or even been strapless in that day. What's going to draw your Someone's after me. So picture the original owner wearing this. Whoops, this is the back. This is the way it would sit. Now in one hand she might have a cocktail and in the other a cigarette holder. And if you think about the ladies with their cigarette holders, of course, you know, it always looks so glamorous. You see those old shots of the movie stars. And you might wonder where that originated from. A cigarette holder was a really great idea. If you were wearing a hat with a brim, it would keep smoke from coming up and damaging your hat. It'd keep the cigarette out a little further, and it's all about the hats. So they were devised to protect the hats. Anyway, that's the first one. I'm sorry, that's the second one. The third one is quite different again. It's also a very fine straw. Again, crafted from the center crown in concentric circles, a nice Milan straw. But the style of this is almost bowler-like. Almost looks like a toilet paper roll. It's got a rolled brim. And this is late 1960s, so very British mod. This would have been quite a fetching hat with a mini skirt in that day. The trim is very simple. Whoops, just let me fiddle with this. With silk fringe tassels. You could almost make earrings out of these. So a very bright, bold look, late 1960s. High crowned again. In the late 1960s, I think the women were all looking for very tall men because the crowns of the hats were so very high. Now, these high crowned hats would not be worn with stilettos. That's a certainty. If you think of the flat styles from the late 1960s, they were designed to be worn with mini skirts and with the high crowned hats. One of the most popular styles was a Puritan, and many of them had a Puritan buckle or a large bow across the foot. And I've also done a book on vintage footwear called In Step with Fashion, and I will link to that if you're interested in the description box. That's my little show and tell for today. I'll tell you about the hat I'm wearing. It's not Christmas red, but if all things were back to normal, I probably would be wearing it this time of year, perhaps to a theater production or to the ballet. It's a variation on the turban, and the turban's a great style if you're going out in the evening in the winter. You can, you know, you can keep your ears warm. You can still look pretty fancy, and it's not the style of hat that is going to interfere with anyone's sight lines sitting behind you. Now, the way I've placed this hat today, it is very vertical, but it doesn't have to be like this. I did show this, I believe, in a different video, but I wasn't wearing it. This is a hat my daughter bought for herself a few years ago. It was, we were all attending a family funeral, and she happened to pass a shop, and there were several of these in the window in different colors and sort of different configurations. And this is one of her favorite colors. She quickly purchased it. I was jealous as anything, but I didn't have the time to go and look and get one for myself. And but more recently she's given it to me, and I love it. It's so clever. This is fashioned on a length of satin, and there is wire inside. So let me just take it apart. So this fabric is created on a length of wire, and at either end inside the fabric are these loops, wire loops, so that you can take this, wrap it around your head, and you just sort of twist the loops behind each other, and you can sort of shape it just about any way you like it. I like it with great crazy earrings for the evening. These are Erickson Beamon. I think I've shown them before. They're vintage. They're wonderful bird cages, gold tone with tiny little birds. Yeah, a real conversation piece. Anyway, holiday dressing is great fun. For me, I won't be going too far from home. I'm still not able to have vaccinations, so I'm kind of staying close to home, but I'm going to dress up anyway. So there you have it. If you're interested in vintage fashion, particularly vintage millinery, if you have questions, if you have pieces you want to talk about, you want to show, I'd love to know. Leave your comments and questions for me and I will address them. In the meantime, I will see you Thursday, and I hope you all have a happy day.